a look at an entrepreneur, and an update on a tax ministry. All that and more coming up now on Joy in the City True Stories. Joy in the City is a program highlighting people and organizations having an impact in our city. All too often, we hear about the problems and dysfunction in our culture, but we are coming with a different approach as we take a look at the good things going on right here in our community. I'm Bethany Marshall, and you are about to see what God is doing in our city. Recently, we had the opportunity to sit down with Scott Cunningham, owner of Visual Element Media. He shared with us about his campaign called loveLocal.
Well, Scott, thanks for joining me today. You and I have a lot of similarities in our hobbies and some of our ministry desires. Before we get into some of the ministry aspects, talk a little bit about your business and what you've been doing for the last several years.
Sure. So I own Visual Element Media. We're located in Duncansville, Pennsylvania, but we serve small businesses and organizations all across the country, helping them with their video, social, and podcasting needs.
At what point did you take from just doing a business to moving into utilizing those skills in ministry? What was that like?
Well, about probably 7 years ago, we were still living in Pittsburgh, and the business was Pittsburgh-based, and I had come to faith not long before that, and I just felt that the Spirit had laid on my heart, I've given you these skills, I've given you these talents to be a storyteller, and I want you to tell more than just the story of businesses. I want you to tell the story of God's people. And so that kind of was the genesis for loveLocal, and being able to tell stories and develop video programs and video shows to really dedicate to telling the story of God's people.
So, loveLocal, you've been doing this for a little while now. What are some of the examples of things that you have utilized in that realm?
So right now, loveLocal is a video streaming platform where we look to develop video content and written content really to promote and glorify God. And so right now, our key program that we're working on is a video podcast, we'll call it, titled Mission and Likeness, where we have guests on and we talk about what is the mission that God has put you on, and how within the craziness of the world do you stay on that mission while still reflecting the likeness of Christ. And so we've had people that from locally that have been on the show, but we've also been branching out and talking to people, again, all across the country. And we're actually ready to book a guest from the Middle East who's going to be talking about sharing the gospel and being on mission and in the image of Christ over in the Middle East as well. So we're really just looking to tell the story of how we as Christians should be on mission for Christ each and every day, no matter what your job title might be.
So I know that you run a business, and this is one of the things that God's put on your heart. How do you balance doing business video projects and ministry video projects? How's that working out?
That's the daily fight, trying to figure out where do you devote your time? And obviously I have an obligation to all of our clients, and we have a great network of people who can help us to serve their needs. And then, you have the startup with loveLocal and trying to get that moving and building the connections that we need there. But then you also have, family life, with my wife and 2 boys. And then you have your service life, where I'm very involved, at Grace, and trying to help them and working with my skills there as well. So that's the daily battle, but it really comes down to just relying on the Spirit to guide me and to say, here prompting me to say, here's what you need to focus on right now, and then just kind of take things one project at a time.
So sometimes people have their full-time job, their own business or whatever, and then they do a ministry that is a totally different entity. You're actually doing everything in the same vein. What do you do to relax from video work? Because you can't be behind a screen all day long every day. What do you do to step away from that kind of stuff?
Recently, I have grown in a love for playing chess and billiards. And so that has been kind of my, there's no screens involved. And so I try to just, back out for a little bit. But really just doing anything, with friends, my boys, my wife, and just kind of being off of a screen and kind of out of the the business mindset. I'm just wired that whenever there's a screen in front of me, I'm thinking of video, work, telling a story. And so being able to get out of that is really helpful for me.
Most of our viewers, I would believe, saw the Christmas program that we did, and you had a significant part of that. For those of you that may not know, Scott did all the editing and all the production of the first story we had on there about Grace Bible's Christmas production that was fully written, music, and dialogue in-house. And you did like a little mini documentary to pull that together, and I really appreciate it. I want to tell you personally how much I appreciated that. And I got lots of wonderful comments from people on that. And do you do much of that kind of stuff, like the little documentaries, in a sense?
Well, that's where I'm looking to branch out. Again, it's finding the time to do it. And so if I make it part of the business plan for loveLocal to create these documentaries, create maybe some short films, or help other people who have ideas for documentaries, short films, or vlogs of that nature, to be able to say, hey, let's partner together, let's come together and develop this piece of content that we can put out. And so that's definitely something I'm looking to get more involved in as we move forward.
Not like you don't have enough to do, so you gotta find something else.
Yeah.
Well, Scott, thank you for taking a few minutes and sharing all about your ministry and even your business. If somebody wants to engage with Mission and Likeness, how do they find you?
So they can listen audio free on Apple, Google, or Spotify, or they can watch for free on loveLocalPA.com. I
love the fact that you hit topics that can be a little controversial. You don't shy away from the tough things, and I've watched most, if not all, of your podcasts. They're very entertaining, but informative and enlightening, and I'm glad to see what you're doing. I wish you the best.
Thanks, Troy.
Continue to grow.
Thanks.
If you know a person or organization impacting our city, we want to hear about it. You can contact us at 814-944-1948 or by email at stories@joyinthecity.org. Impact Productions, a multi-layer technology company providing on-site, online, and in-studio video services. Contact Impact Productions to capture your story.
Kick off summer by joining faith-filled believers from all across the city for Saturate Altoona. This is a free summer worship series unifying believers throughout our community. You're invited to join worshipers every Sunday night during the month of June at Heritage Plaza, beginning at 6:30 p.m. You'll hear from 12 different faith leaders of several denominations and musicians from many churches. You don't want to miss Saturate Altoona every Sunday night in June at Heritage Plaza in downtown Altoona.
This segment is brought to you by Harry's Construction, whose motto is, "If you can dream it, we can create it." They are the kitchen and bath design experts, so call Harry's Construction for all your remodeling needs. Seeing a need for tax return preparation in the community, Scott Seifer felt led by the Lord to start a tax return filing ministry out of New Life Worship Center in Altoona. They have seen God use this ministry and bless it. We had the opportunity to hear from Scott and get an update on this ministry.
So this ministry started in 2010. You just put in your 12th year. And back in 2010, you only had 2 returns. So kind of move us from that time to today and how the ministry has grown.
Yeah, so what happened was our first year we did have 2 people, and it was kind of heartbreaking knowing that, is this really what God wants or not, and everything. But I had that small voice saying, just keep with it. I had to build the clientele up. Like with any business, you got to build that up and everything. So second year got a little bit better, more people. Third year got a little bit better. I talked to Pastor Troy the one time, and we were on Join the City before and everything, and I remember the year that he told me, he's like, are you ready for? I just want to make sure that you guys are ready for what is about to happen and everything. And I didn't realize it at the time, but that was the
The prophetic word for the future.
It was very much so. It was it came to that, and last year we had 1,700, and this year we had 1,839.
So every year it has picked up steam.
Yeah, we never lost any. We always grew people up and everything. It's always been that way. So.
Right. So all your people are volunteers?
Yes.
And where do you find these volunteers?
So a lot of them come from our church and everything. There are some from outside the church. There's one that was my wife's best friend in high school, and I knew that she was good with numbers, per se, and everything, data inputting. This year we had one from Pastor Micah, and he came in, it's like, hey, this person wants to help out. I told him, let me kind of interview, and we kind of did. It just I wanted to talk beforehand, because it is the integrity of the ministry itself and everything. We're working with people's personal information.
I was going to say that to you, because I remember 10 years ago you telling me that.
Yes.
You telling me that this is people's finances are very personal, and you assured me that it begins and ends right here. It doesn't go any further.
Yeah, it doesn't go any further. Everything that's backed up. I do make copies of people's tax returns, but I put them on a thumb drive, and they're in a very secure place in my place and everything. So nobody gets to see it.
So what is the process now? Because I'm sure you've had to change that as your clientele has grown, because people used to meet you down in a parking lot years ago, but that is no longer feasible.
So yeah, what happened before when I worked and everything, so I retired in 2020. So what happened was, at lunchtime I would kind of meet people at Uncle Joe's parking lot. That was a big pickup point, So the concept was still there, we needed a pickup point, we needed a drop-off point, and that had the concept. There was a lot of people in the parking lot, they would see folders being shifted back and forth and money flowing, Obviously I had some questions, people did ask me questions on what I was doing there. But from now, so that helped me with the concept, of how it should work. Now we have it where people come in the door of the church. So every Saturday, once February starts, every Saturday we're open for like 5 hours down at New Life Worship Center. And people come in and they drop off tax returns. There's 3 ways to get a hold of us. Obviously my phone number, I have my email address, and we have a Facebook page. So if anybody has any questions at that point, they need to kind of reach out to us, And they were like, hey, there's a lot of people like, how does this work? We're not really sure. Do we make an appointment? Do we do something? And there's a lot of calls at the beginning, I probably get close to 50, 60 calls a day. This year, Blair Senior Center, so halfway, they took appointments up to, I don't know, probably beginning of February, and then they were kind of like, we're done. We're not taking anymore. And they said, hey, they called me up and they go, hey, do you want our overflow? And we were like, sure, we'll take it. Because we had already had the concept there of how we were going to do it, Are there any limitations to what you can do with taxes? Do you do renters? Pastors are a whole nother gamut, so there are no limitations at all. The only things I will shy away from are corporations. So anybody that has a corporation that's found that, they should probably go to CPA. They really need to, because there's a lot of schedules with that. But businesses and rentals, type ones, pastors, I can do. I like to train them the first year, only because I need the paperwork a certain way to come in, right? I don't need to see receipts. I need bottom line numbers, and that's what I tell people. I will sit down with a lot of the businesses, the first year and everything. And once I get them kind of trained, I'm like, hey, you can drop off. I don't mind, just so we're in the same page and everything.
Right,
So,
right. Now, I won't even say charge. It's a donation base because you guys are a nonprofit.
Right.
But it's what, $20 for each return?
Yeah. So we charge $20. The way I let them know is it's $20. You can give more, and everything goes to nonprofits. So what we do is we charge them $20. You know, a lot of people, I can let you know, out of the 1,800 that we had this year, our average amount was about $32, $33 a person. So you can obviously see people give more than 20 because we had signs up. We had people on our team this year that it's amazing because they'll be like, hey, we want to do this, but we see that we can kind of make posters for you, and so that we can have them up because the people coming in want to see where they're giving to, right?
Right.
And that's what we had. We had somebody that volunteered and said, I want to make posters for you guys. You know, I prepare the taxes, but I see this needs to be done. And that's what I need. Every year I find something different. Last year, which was not this tax year, but the last one, God kind of showed me like, hey, you have to learn to delegate. Right? You got to learn to delegate to people and everything. You can't do this on your own. And I did. Last year I learned to, people came up and said, hey, we need to get this. I go, good, you're in charge of it. So
there you go.
and it's the same thing this year. We learned that we needed to time efficiency. That's the thing about it is if we can service more people is if we learn how to work our time in a more efficient manner and everything. So we're always looking that way.
So this show has been the recipient from some of that, what people have given you. Where are some other places that you've distributed? So
we give to the Refuge Network from Pastor Micah. We also have given to Elm. We give to Elm down in Tyrone. There's a wood ministry out of our church. It's called Warm Hearts from Jim Rhodes. He's actually gives wood out to people that need it and everything. Sometimes free if they can't afford it, and other times for a donation and everything. We also have, I think, a ministry out of this church and everything for Steve Becker for the Kenya. Yeah, we give to them. We also give to what is called as a silent word ministry. It's a deaf ministry that send kids to camp and everything, and they're out of Georgia. We also have the Arm of God. They go into nursing homes. Pastor Rob and Denise, I'm not sure of the last name, but they actually go into nursing homes and minister to the elderly there. So we try to get it across the spectrum of life.
Sure. So what was the amount totality that people got back, and how much did you give to all the nonprofits collectively?
Yeah, for the refund itself and everything, we got, I would say it was probably for everybody as a whole, close to $3 million back in refunds for everybody. What we got in donation-wise was over $62,000. Wow! So it's amazing. It really is. People will give to organizations that they see, and we talk them up all the time. We talk the organizations up and say, hey, here's what they're doing. And I before I give, I'm going to search online. If they don't have something online, or I didn't see an email and everything, I mean, they're going to have to, they have to let me know that they're working as well and everything. So for nonprofits, that's the thing. The way I look at it as a nonprofit, right? For fundraising, they have to do the work, right? We're willing to say, we're going to do the work for you. We're going to go out there and do the taxes and everything for people. Don't worry about this one and everything, go on to another fundraiser. We can get this one and we'll raise money for you.
Now, one last question, because I know you're going to rattle it off like it's, how much money were you able to save the taxpayers this year?
So an average tax return and everything is probably, a simple one, is probably at least, going to some tax preparer is going to be at least $100. I can let you know we did a lot of businesses, and I would say that we probably saved on an average of a person. They probably averaged about $250 a return and everything. So you figure, $20. It's probably about 50,000, if not more.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you didn't give up.
Yes.
Glad you hung in there.
Thank you.
And you have definitely been a blessing to us here at Join the City, and we appreciate you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Made by Vogel is a father and son business that produces high-quality handmade wooden products such as cutting boards, bowls, bottle stoppers, and more. Products for sale can be found on their Etsy site or in downtown Altoona at the Clay Cup. You can't go wrong buying from Made by Vogel.
Mouth-watering family recipes, easy-to-make meals, humor, and faith fill the inspiring new show, Dano on the Counter. Born with only half a spine, Dano Burkhardt was never supposed to be able to hold his head up. Despite countless surgeries, a stroke, leg amputations, and kidney transplants, Dano developed a contagious love for life. Join Dano on Sunday mornings at 8 a.m. on Fox 8 as he shares his easy-to-make dishes and the hope that keeps him pushing forward.
For our final segment today, we have a few thoughts from Pastor Jim Balzano as he shares from his podcast, Transformed.
The COVID-19 pandemic has certainly caused families, businesses, governments, and churches to adapt in ways maybe never seen before. I've had several discussions recently with pastors or leaders, and as well as seeing things that have been written concerning the conviction of our churches. The essence of the conversation went something like this, that we lack conviction because we don't continue to have services inside of our facilities as we normally do. The idea is our lack of a conviction to who we are and what we do is lacking because we aren't continuing with our normal routine. And in so doing, they will cite things like the book of Acts, where Peter said, we will obey God rather than men. Well, let us remember, first of all, that was a response to persecution in the church, not a health pandemic. But here's my question to us as church leaders or even business leaders, if you're listening to this. Do our systems define our convictions, or do our convictions define our systems? And when we think our systems of doing things define our convictions, aren't we really in essence saying God is limited to our system? Now, we would never openly say that because, of course, we know he's bigger than our systems, but our lack of attempting something different says something different. The truth is, we need to allow our convictions of who God is to define what we do and how we do it. Do we have a conviction that says God can meet no matter what the system or the structure looks like? Can God only show up in a service of 1,000? Well, of course not. Can he show up in a service of 100? Of course he can. What about 50, 10, or 5? Of course he is. He's the one that said what? He says, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there I am in the midst of them. Can he show up in a drive-in service? Of course he can. The fact is, God is so much bigger than our systems of how we do things. As a matter of fact, I believe he, through his Holy Spirit, is the author of creativity and ingenuity. He's the one that can give us God ideas in such times as these. I would suggest that we need to allow our convictions of who God is define our systems. But let's be honest for just a moment. Our systems are our comfort zones. We're used to them. We have a certain amount of control over them. We know how to navigate through them. Sometimes, to be honest, they take very little faith to operate in. then in the name of conviction, we won't adapt. We won't be creative. We won't attempt something that may or may not work. Our systems inadvertently become a prison which makes us captive to our system. But now our systems have been shaken, our comfort zones have been invaded, and now our convictions of who God truly is will shape our systems of what we do and how we do it. But it will take faith, courage, and creativity. During this time, there are going to be things that will die in the short term as we navigate this era. One of the questions we got to ask ourselves when it's all over is, what needs revived and what needs to stay dead? In my mind, changing a system is not a reflection of a lack of conviction. As a matter of fact, I believe it's a reflection of my conviction of how big God really is, that he's so much bigger than any system I have put in place. Make no mistake about it. The systems of how we do life as a family has been challenged. And many of us are seeking, how do we adapt to this new system? How do we adapt to this new structure? The systems of business owners and how we conduct business have been challenged. And it's requiring faith, and it's requiring creativity, and it's requiring ingenuity. And God can give you that. And the systems of how we do church has been challenged. But here's where we can take heart. This is what we have to believe. This is what our conviction must be, that our God is bigger than our system. So allow our faith in him to arise in our hearts and take us beyond our systems. Let me leave you with this verse. Y'all know it. Very famous verse. We love to quote it, but now I think we really got to operate in it. Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for. It's the conviction of things not yet seen. And for by it, men of old gained approval. Man, it's a challenging time, but allow faith to lead you. It's a challenging time, but allow faith to assure you of the things that you hope for, the things that you have a good expectation of believing for. Allow faith in him to fuel a conviction of things not yet seen. Let me encourage you, no matter your system, whether it's a system of doing life, a system of a family, your business system, your church system, our God is bigger than that system. And allow our conviction of who he is define this system. Have a great week.
That's all the time we have today. Thanks for watching Join the City True Stories. Let me encourage you to watch other episodes of people and organizations having an impact on our community on ABC 23 at 5:30 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. every Sunday. You can also catch us each week on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Until then, be encouraged because God is moving in our city.